Good afternoon and welcome to the second part in our Crowdfunding for Youth project series, where today we're talking all about creating the perfect project page. My name's Sammy Morger. I'm broadcasting live today from Crowdfunder HQ in Newquay, and we're also really lucky to be joined by Tyler today from Springboard Youth Academy, and we're going to be talking to Tyler throughout the session today about her experience of recently running a very successful crowdfund. So can you get us started, first of all, Tyler? Can you tell us a little bit about what you wanted to achieve with Crowdfunder?
Yeah, sure. So our team was essentially looking to raise enough money to pilot a education initiative for newly arrived young people to the UK. And it was essentially a 5-week summer program that looked to deliver support in the form of ESOL Foundation through drama and storytelling, as well as holistic kind of support through mental health services, so counseling, and also a lot of different fun activities like sports and trips and loads of sort of artistic workshops and also life skills workshops.
Awesome, thanks. I think that's a really good overview. So we're going to come back, as I said, to speak to Tyler a little bit more in just a few moments. But first of all, what we're here to talk about today, again, is all about creating the perfect page. So that's everything from how you tell your story to things like setting up rewards as well. This is the second part of a 3-part series. So if you missed part 1, that's when we were talking more about creating a team and making a plan, as well as finding your crowd. And in the next session, we're going to be talking more specifically around running your project. So that's getting the word out there and actually getting some pledges onto your project page. And I will mention at this stage that we have tons of advice that you can download in these PDF guides. There's 3 of them, one again for each of those 3 topics. And they're absolutely the most useful thing that you can use if you're starting to think about crowdfunding and you're not really sure where to go. You can download them, you can actually type straight into them, they're editable PDFs, or you can print them out and scribble all over them, which is what I like to do. And there'll be a link in this video as well, so you can actually download them straight from there. And in, I think it's the first or second page of this second guide on creating your project, we have a bunch of examples in there for you to look at. So as well as looking at Tyler's project today, we absolutely recommend that you get on there and have a look at what other people have done. I think it's one of the very best ways to learn. What do you like? What don't you like? What would you have done differently? What can you take inspiration from? So have a look at a range of projects. And of course, there's tons and tons of examples on the Crowdfunder website if you want to have a look at those. So Tyler, from your perspective, what do you think is the most important thing to keep in mind when you're starting to set up a page on Crowdfunder?
I would say to sort of be as kind of engaging as possible, but in sort of using the least amount of words. And so trying to make things look really visual. This is not my strong point. We were lucky that we had on the team people who are actually really good at this, and you know, we kind of used our networks to find friends who could shoot videos for us. And that was not difficult because I'm not based in the UK and 3 of our other team were abroad, so it was a lot of sort of running around. But yeah, I would say making sure everything looks really visual and not sort of, you know, really drilling down to the basic values and the basic sort of outcomes of your project as much as possible.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. And I think actually as time goes by, more and more people aren't used to and they don't expect to be reading reams and reams of text, particularly online when we're looking at, you know, and people sort of going around the internet and finding these things that they're interested in, like, you know, a crowdfunding project, is they expect to just see it. They want to see it rather than be told about it, kind of more and more so. So I think that's really, really true. But what we are going to do actually, No, sorry, go ahead. Did you have something you wanted to
say?
I
wanted to say quickly that this is maybe something that some people know if you're quite tech savvy, but you can embed infographics into the text bit of the Crowdfunder page, and that's something that I think is really useful and important to do. Yeah, I'm done. Sorry.
Absolutely, no, you're absolutely right. So what we're going to do now is actually look at your page, and we're going to look at how you do tell your story. So we're literally just looking at the words here just for a moment, and then we're going to kind of look at the things outside of the words. And this is something, you know, exactly as Tyler's drilled down into, that is so, so key. And I think there's that phrase, you know, if I had more time, I would have written a shorter letter, which essentially is, you know, is saying, you don't need to go on, you know, you don't need to waffle, you know, reams and reams of text in order to get across your point. You know, just get it out there in as fewer words as possible while still getting that impact across. So we're going to look at the 3 questions that we actually focus on in the crowdfunding guides that we mentioned a moment ago. There's 3 questions there that we say that every project should make sure they're addressing. So we're going to look at how you did that with the Springboard Youth Academy project. So the first question is, what are you trying to achieve? And this is very much at the core of every project. Why are we here? You know, what are you doing? What is it that you're looking to do? And I've just pulled out in bold, and this is across the next couple of slides, the bits that really jump out in terms of what are you trying to achieve? Because there's 2 ways of looking at this question. There's what are you physically trying to achieve? So are we trying to buy you know, a boat, or are we trying to refurbish a building? But what is that actually going to achieve? So it's kind of going one step further than just the physical. So, you know, talking about, yeah, so they're going to be running an innovative and exciting summer program. That's what they're looking to do. But what is that achieving? And that's what, you know, in that bit above, you know, bridging the skills gap and providing that much needed support. Just kind of picked out those 2 sentences which really jumped out to me. So looking at the next question. There it is. Who are you? Oh, sorry, go back one. There we are. What makes your project great? So we can actually swap that word great for quite a few different words depending on what your project is doing. So it might be what makes your project interesting, what makes it exciting, innovative, revolutionary. We can kind of swap out all those different words, but what we're essentially saying is, why should people care? What's awesome about this? And actually what people do really well here, and what Tyler's done very well, or someone on her team has done, is actually drilled into the what is the problem and what is the solution, which is actually how they presented it on their page, which we'll look at kind of in full in just a moment. Is this is the problem and this is how we're solving it. And actually talking about, as you do on your page, Tyler, about that you are doing things differently, and this is something that people, you know, haven't tried before, or actually we're kind of ripping up what people normally do, because actually we think there's a better way to be doing things. So I've just again kind of highlighted talking about you know, the challenges obviously that young people who have newly arrived in the country might be facing, and actually rather than just addressing those challenges, you're talking about setting up those people to thrive. So not just survive, thrive. And I think I've been hearing, you know, a lot of kind of rhetoric, a lot of talk around those kind of things at the moment, and I think that's really key, that it's not just about solving a problem, it's actually about elevating that and actually looking what is the most positive impact we can have. And finally, and you'll be surprised the amount of people that miss this bit out of their crowdfunder project, is who are you and what's your experience? And there's 2 really key reasons for including this information. First of all, credibility. By actually showing yourselves, your face, naming the people behind the project, it massively helps with trust and with credibility. Describing your experience basically makes it look like, you know, we're the right people for the job. We know what we're doing. You can trust us with this. We're going to deliver. Why it's really important is actually just for that human connection, to show your personality, that you're not just kind of this faceless organisation with this title. Actually, you're people as well, and people who have their own unique experiences and their own takes. on what it is, this problem that we're addressing. So I've pulled out one of the little bios that you have on your page, and of course I've picked yours. And that's what it does really well, is actually pull out kind of your professional experience and talking about, working for the last 5 years. That really builds that credibility. I look at that and go, right, this is someone who knows what they're doing. Fantastic, she's the right person for the job. So as we mentioned just a moment ago, and actually what I was trying to really drill home with those last 3 slides, is that having something really text heavy, being presented with that, is actually quite different to what we're used to. So those last 3 slides were just text. And if you're anything like me, your eyes will have been wandering around the room a little bit while that was going on, because we're just not used to being presented with blocks of text. So it's almost kind of a red herring, those 3 slides, just to drill home how important visual texture is. So exactly as Tyler mentioned, you can add in images, infographics. They use headings really well on their project page. You can also add in testimonials from people that perhaps are involved with the project or have benefited from it or will benefit from it, and something which I know you guys did on your social media really well. You kind of had other voices on there, so don't be afraid to kind of add that stuff in. So for you guys, Tyler, on your project page, other than the written text, can you tell us a bit about what else you included to really make it engaging?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's been a while since I've looked, but yes. So we had obviously the video at the top, and I can tell you that it was not. It's not the most beautiful, beautifully put together video. We made it very fast and at the direction of a film director who is in a different country from 2 of the people who were in the video. So in fact, it's not beautiful, but the advice that I got, that our team was getting from one of the ladies on our team who runs campaigns, is that it doesn't matter, that it's not super high quality, but that it's sort of charming, in fact, that, this is a pilot project and therefore it's not going to be looking like a Hollywood video. But it went up, and in fact I think we had some sound issues, but I think it's really important because it grabs you, and there's some fun sort of cheesy music in there, and it's uplifting, I think. So that was the sort of point of that. And then further down we have a big infographic just about I think the pledges and what you're able to sort of pledge on. And that is sort of just to bring alive a little bit the different aspects of the program. And it's nice and colorful, and we have a lovely graphic designer help us with that as well. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can see from that preview, you can see the graphic there, the infographic that we had, and the titles I think are really great as well. You can see what I was referring to a moment ago with the problem and our solution. We're doing things differently, and how can you help? There's some really great structure. So if you're looking for a page to kind of see, how can it be done well, I definitely recommend having a look at their page, because they have done a really good job. So we're going to move on ever so slightly and start to talk about rewards quickly now. So rewards, I would say, first of all, are not essential on Crowdfunder. You do not have to add rewards to your project. You are able to put your project live with donation only, which of course is a very good option for people who are running particularly charitable projects, or things where that motivation from their backers is going to be much more about them wanting to support it because it's worthwhile, rather than because they want the reward. But what we do find is that projects that offer rewards, we actually see the average amount that's contributed, the average pledge does tend to go up. And it's also a really good way of kind of increasing that engagement, because there's a 2-way exchange where they've given some money and they've had something in return. That tends to form quite a solid bond. So when you're looking to move forward in the future, and perhaps asking for more support, or asking for volunteers or people to get involved with things, that actually the fact that you've had that exchange and that they feel a little bit more involved can really help to sort of cement that relationship. These are the 4 main types of rewards. There will always be new things that we've never seen before offered on crowdfunder projects. It happens all the time. People do weird and wonderful and fabulous things with rewards, but it's essentially all about acknowledging the support that you've been given through something which kind of makes sense, something which equates. to that support. So we're talking about giving people good value for money, for example, something that's maybe exclusive or something a bit different, something that's very authentic. That's really what people are looking for with rewards. So we're just going to whip through each of these 4 different categories and just have a look at some examples. So first up, products and services, and this is probably the one that people think of first when they're thinking about rewards. It's kind of the obvious one, receiving something physical. So whether that's, as we've got here, a space-themed box that kids can use to kind of get involved and have a go at some different activities, or another project, Snacked, that have worked with us a couple of times, where actually the product that they make themselves, these bars made from food waste, and you actually receive some of those. Experiences and events is actually my favourite category. That's what I really like to pledge on when I'm getting involved with projects. I really like to go places and to do things that would ordinarily not at all be on my radar. So things which you can't just go and buy elsewhere. So things like, as we've got here, a day course learning the art of preserving and fermenting vegetables, which is just bonkers, but it's fantastic. And again, we've got one here where the Jolly Dodger will take you on a mackerel fishing trip. So something that's a little bit different and kind of invites you to actually meet the project owners and kind of get involved in what they're doing. And that can be down, right the way there, we see from £10 up to, a 3-figure sum. And because actually you can do kind of a few of those at the same time. So if you were running that day course, you can actually invite, everyone who's pledged on that reward over on the same day. It can actually be a relatively easy reward for you to deliver. So sponsorship is something which is quite key again, and often when we think of sponsorship, we think about corporate sponsorship, but it doesn't have to be that way. It can be an opportunity for people to sponsor a part of your project. So for example, with the Dormouse project, which ran in Dorset recently, that you could actually adopt a dormouse if you like, so sponsor a dormouse. Obviously, you're not going to receive that dormouse in a box to your house or anything like that. But what you're doing basically there is paying the price that will actually help to look after that dormouse, if you like. So that's kind of how they work it out. Similarly, we see a lot where you can do sponsorship to have your name appear on things, like we see the art map there in Birmingham. Or to have your name on a wall, or something like that. We see quite a lot, which is very authentic. It's kind of this nice memento people can offer. Finally, of course, we have a good old thank you. And of course, you don't have to add kind of a thank you reward, because we do have the donate option. You can see it there on the screen. That's there on every single project, regardless on whether you've added rewards or not. But you can be a bit creative with your thank you. So we see there for Bridport Children's Festival that they, got the kids to do a load of hand-painted cards, which is quite sweet and quite nice, something you can kind of stick on the fridge at home. And we see people, again, being very creative with their thank yous throughout. So I'm going to ask the big question now, Tyler, that we've all been waiting for, which is, what is your one top piece of advice for someone who's about to start creating their project on Crowdfunder? No pressure.
I think the best advice is to make sure you have a really solid team around you, whether that's people who are part of your project or people who are sort of in your close network, because they not only can sort of help you be reflective on what you're putting out in terms of your text or your content, but also getting people ready for that first 36 hours of your launch, when you need to essentially make 25%, right, of your 25% of your goal in order to, so that I think this is an algorithm thing, or you're more likely to hit your target if this is the case. So I think really mobilizing your network is the most important thing, and preparing people who are in your sort of close network, as well as one or two out from there. When you need them to pledge, especially if they've already said, yes, I'm definitely going to pledge. But what you don't want is for those people to wait until the day 29 of 30 to do that. So I think you guys have a really super useful pack, which is the introduction to Crowdfunder pack, I think. And in the first couple of pages, you talk about sort of drawing out this network that you might have. And I really seriously took this very seriously and sat down and started drawing it. In fact, it was really helpful, especially because at the beginning, I thought, who is going to want to get involved to fund this? You know, other than the 4 people I know, close to me in my house who are going to help. So being able to kind of visualize that, and then to make a plan around how you can approach those people and when you need them all to sort of participate. I think this is the most important thing, is your network, thinking about your network.
Absolutely, and I'm actually totally agree with that as well, Tyler. I'm going to be launching my own crowdfunding project next week, believe it or not. And I found it so useful doing my network map. I have it on my desk at work. I take it everywhere with me in my bag. I'm always sort of thinking about more people and adding it to. So that is something that we mentioned in that first webinar. So anyone who's thinking, what's she talking about with this network map? Go back and have a look at that first webinar, because it's in there and you can download it in the pack there. So that pretty much brings us to the end of today. Before our next session, there is 3 things which I would absolutely advise doing for your own crowdfund. So start drafting your project description. Just start typing words. Start thinking about what content you want to put in there, what images you might want to include. It's not public. No one's going to see it until you put it live, so don't worry. Just start having a go. Start chipping away. That's the first step. Do have a brainstorm of some reward ideas, see what you can come up with. Generally getting a few of you around a table and having a go is a good way to start. And do think about calculating your target. Now, that's not something that we've really touched on at all today in this webinar, but it is something that there's a fair bit of advice on in that downloadable pack. So again, if you haven't got the memo that you should download the pack, absolutely do it. That's where you can find that information. If you do have any questions at all along the way, please do get in touch. We are more than happy to help. We're support@crowdfunder.co.uk on email. And I will see everyone next time, which is going to be at 12 o'clock, so same sort of time in a couple of weeks, Friday the 13th of October. I'm not superstitious, so I'm not at all worried about that. It's going to be a brilliant session. Thanks again so much for joining us, Tyler. It's been really fab to have you on board. Check out their project, Springboard Youth Academy. It's awesome. And I'll see you all next time. Thanks so much. Bye.